November 2nd, 2022. Today I faced my first major form of opposition to reteaching the ideal of machismo. The opposition came due in part by my choice of verbiage, namely, using machismo as the symbol for masculinity. The unfortunate aspect of our modern, quote, woke culture is that everything must have a place, must fit into a category, a clearly defined category. It must bear a label, and that label has been pre-approved, if you will. This also means that there must be a good or a bad, and almost exclusively adhere to one or the other. Bear the moniker of good or evil. Drugs can't be good, they're bad or evil. Video games hold no value, evil. Masculinity is too complicated to be understood by men, and it's not women's responsibility to compensate, so evil. Or, better, toxic. Yeah, the trigger word right there. Toxic masculinity. Well, we still struggle to learn from our past, both male and female, because we refuse to admit that we need, absolutely need, one another. We, men and women, are two sides of the same coin, a yin and a yang, if you will. Male presses on female and vice versa. If one side ever fully overtakes the other, then you have an island. On the dark side, like a child alone in the dark. If the dark wins, or for this purpose masculinity for no particular reason, if the male side is allowed to dominate the individual, then the innocent and childlike feminine instinct become completely isolated. Men build walls around that instinct to protect it, when in reality they lose the ability to use the softer side. Emotions become calloused because the light of femininity is blocked. The warmth and emotion that comes from tapping into the divine feminine, neglecting the feminine in self, is toxin. On the other side, like a child alone at a party, if the light or feminine is allowed to dominate the individual, then the flip side of the divine masculinity, the childlike masculine instinct, becomes a blemish on an otherwise perfect form. An almost unbearable sense of imperfection can tarnish nearly every moment of the individual's life, but most significantly in relationships with masculinity. Unable to find a true sense of satisfaction in themselves, they try to change others. They try to change them around. Criticize others to hide their own imperfections. That is toxic. This Sunday is a journal day, and was initially slotted as a sort of rest day. I think instead, I'm going to use that day as a day to explain the history behind what I have learned. I know it's not ideal, and I wanted to have the website completed before I really dug into it, but because of the small resistance, I think that it's a perfect time to do that. And it gives me 5 weeks worth of topics, 5 topics, 5 in-star stages. I need to define machismo, teach its history, and relate it to Macto Masculus. I need to teach about Halloween and its original purpose. I need to teach about the hearth and Hestia, the goddess, keeper of the flame. I need to speak about the hearth flame, seeking the light, and cicadas as a spirit animal. Finally, I need to share the new me, Zitravu. Teach Zitravu. Well, There you go. I just found my topics. Machismo and Macto, Masculus, Halloween, Hearth and Hestia, Cicada spiritual connection, Zitravu. Tomorrow we plan. Zitravu. November 3rd. 2022. I need to plan out exactly how I want to teach the principle, the ideal of machismo, and by extension, Macto Masculus. Machismo, or exaggerated masculinity, broken down is two parts, macho and ism. The word macho from machismo means a strong or brave man. From the root word masculus, meaning a man, a male, or masculine. From the word maram, the male. From the words marcus or marculus, meaning large hammer or small hammer. From the root word mactus, meaning glorified, worshipped, honored, adored. From the word Macto, literally means I offer sacrifice, immolate. I punish trouble, reward honor. I slaughter, I kill. And ism is a distinctive philosophy, ideology, or an artistic movement. That is what we're doing. The root of machismo is a solemn oath to one's self to sacrifice all, to kill the evil inside and reward honor, punish the trouble, reward honor. And that is something to be glorified, worshipped, and adored, whether it is with large men or small men. The male, a masculine male, a strong, a brave male, should exaggerate his masculinity. It is meant to be an example. Machismo can refer to the concept of being created and not assigned a primordial cultural trait owned by any one particular group or people. In the 1930s and 40s, there was an idea brewing. The idea that men needed a bit more culture, if you will. And due to the Great Depression and subsequent political pressures from the West, namely America, Spain looked to solidify its culture against the Western corruption. The idea of looking after, protecting, defending, and sacrificing for his family, machismo, was meant as a uniting idea. The strength that held society together once World War II broke out and continued pressure from Allied forces saw Spain used as a sort of staging ground for the Allied forces. Machismo was a movement to celebrate male virility and masculine pride. It was a pure example, a little exaggerated, to emphasize the finer points. This idea of celebrating masculinity was later corrupted by the dictatorial leaders who used the idea of defending with violence up to and including murder to justify the most deprived aspects of their own corrupted personalities. The dictators claiming that they were the de facto example of masculinity and virility. And because of the exorbitant amount of power they held in that war state, they would silence with violence anyone who would question their machismo. It did not take long for people to use the word mockingly. Yeah, sure, Donald. You are the most machismo man. Eye rolls ensued from the collective citizenry. Without exposing that violation of purity, the ideals became corrupted and used as a vile insult to repeat a toxic, what does that mean? To represent, a toxic male in society. At the same time, in the neighboring Portugal, a similar idea had begun to take root. Now, I don't know how to say this word right here, but it's Portuguese word, cavalheirismo. I don't know. That's Latin American. It's Portuguese, obviously. But what that meant, understanding of manliness that focused more on honor and chivalry. And that is from the root word caballero, which means gentleman, from the root word caballas, which means horse. In Portugal, they were basing their machismo off of the French cavalry. A gentleman on a horse, a knight, a protector. A knight is called and can choose to answer or not. So what is a knight? A protector, a fighter, a role model, a warrior that has standards, ethics, intelligence, compassion. A warrior with a trademark, a signature. They had character because of discipline. They were consistent. They and their example was meant to act as a guidepost, like a speed limit sign to represent the maximum speed to keep you and others safe. Machismo was meant to exemplify the ideal male role model for society, the maximum capabilities and restraint, meant as the ultimate complement to women and children. This implies an extreme level of self-awareness to understand how the actions of self can affect the environment around you. To know without a doubt the evil you are capable of, and through that knowledge, develop and protect the feminine, loving goodness that can contain and hold that destructive flame, the hearth. As a dictator or any person trying to manipulate and control, the first thing that you do is eliminate self-identity and awareness. Machismo empowered the common man, making him equal to the royalty. Machismo equalized women to men as capable, celebratory, worthy creatures. Machismo encouraged young girls and boys to discover and enhance their personal values, all of which takes power away from the hierarchical system, lessens the control over the people, and united people means decentralized government. How do you stop that as a politician? By poisoning the source, the movement, the ideals, by poisoning machismo. And how exactly? By adopting the movement as your own. And through your influence, do it your way. Quote, you said men defend with violence. That is what I did. I am machismo. No. What you did was murder, not machismo. Kill that man! My machismo! They opposed me and I defend my machismo with violence. And the cycle continues. That is the image presented today. An absolute asshole of an overconfident, underdeveloped, angry, violent dickwad. That is not and never was machismo. November 4th, 2022. For the entirety of this day, I have not been able to clear my head. of the repeating pattern of masculine awakening and suppression through history. I literally spent an hour pacing back and forth at work today, just ruminating on it. This continued alignment of vibration to this subject eventually led to a profound revelation. There has been and is in progress a masculine awakening taking place in Africa in our modern day. The Dapper Men is what they're called. A completely new, unexplored inquiry into an exaggerated masculinity. Machismo. The revelation of a modern day example led me down a rabbit hole of instant revelation. To my understanding, a connecting thread appeared, a thread that I followed. Every male awakening preceded a major economic conflicts, most often associated with war. Let's focus on our modern example to expand on this idea. Let's face facts. Africa is still an infant when it comes to modern democratic politicization, war, conflict, famine, disease. I mean, Africa has faced some shit. And if you don't agree, we'll cut that part out because it's bad. Anywho, that amount of stress, especially on the male mind, as a biological protector to have no ability to protect, to defend, as a matter of balance to the universe, will push men to exhibit extreme masculine behavior to offset this. This may be interpreted as more feminine, formal display of manliness. Bright, audacious outfits, exaggerated gait and posture, over-the-top gestures of gallantry, purposefully drawing attention to themselves and away from the horrors that they have to face. This gives men a purpose in an otherwise purposeless existence and fixes them as a sort of superhero of masculinity. That is literally what machismo is meant to be. Captain Masculine, here to save the day.